Scorpio Ophiuchus, welcome to your weekly Sidereal Astrology forecast. This is for October 17th to the 23rd of 2016. I'm Athen, and this channel is about using the actual constellations in the sky, known as Sidereal Astrology. If you are new to the channel, be sure to check out the link down below for more information. All right, so Scorpio Ophiuchus, this week we have a few things going on, one of which is very significant for both of you, and this is that Mars is going over Pluto. Very transformational here. And this is on Wednesday. So let's go ahead and talk about this, and then we'll look at the other things which are a bit minor in comparison. So this is all happening in your second house. You've had Pluto in your second house over the past many years, helping you transform your values. And that's both on an inner level and an external level. On an inner level, it could have to do with your inner resources, your sense of self-worth, your self-reliance, your in a sense of being able to cultivate what you want to cultivate in your life, your self-efficacy, and and all that's transforming on an inner level. Now, on an external level, this could specifically be transformations with your finances or with your assets or your values on the external level, usually the material values. So there's been perhaps some energy with this lately. The past few weeks, you've had Mars transiting in that second house. On some level, maybe you've been motivated to cultivate these things in your life, to make some changes with that. But in either case, it's certainly the week to do that. And I think making change here, and again, this is internal change, which can be very deep with Pluto, because Pluto is about fears. It brings the fears up to the surface. And, as a result, from feeling fear, we want to do things like control things. We want things to be a certain way. We can really hold on really tight. And so if you're feeling that, really holding on tight to the values, the inner or outer resources, then it's good to sort of take a step back as best as you can and be aware of it. Be aware of and accept these fears, these inhibitions, these anxieties, whatever they are, because that's the source. The control and the identification and all that comes after, and that's just a result of the fear. So it's a great week for diving deep, especially with your ruler over Pluto, just in general. Just diving deep with self, see what comes up, and make some changes. This is very powerful changes. I think collectively all of you will be seeing this transformation going into next week of feeling more transformed, liberated, like something's been cleared. And in many ways, this is old patterns, past patterns, things that may have in the past inhibited you, or because of the fears, or created density, blockage, things like that, is now being transformed for the better, sort of burned away as it is, like the phoenix coming out of the ashes. So very powerful. And I think all in all, if you do see that there are some areas you can make some change when it comes to yourself, when it comes to your values and all of this, it's just an excellent week to do that. And the more you are willing to dive deep, I think the more it will assist that process. And really taking a step back, because Pluto, the best way of working with Pluto, from what I've found, is to be non-attached as best as we can. Obviously, that's easier said than done, but in practice, non-attachment as best as you can. Because what happens when we don't care about how something turns out? In this case, maybe wanting to live a more minimalistic lifestyle, or at least having that approach to it, or just having more of an approach to not identifying too much with what you're doing or what you have, or that kind of thing. But as we free ourselves up and we don't care, so to speak, then we're free to do anything. And that's the true power of Pluto, of making change once the fear is no longer there. And that's usually what occurs. And again, the non-attachment can certainly assist with that. All right, so very powerful there. This is also involving your routine, perhaps, because you do have, Mars rules your sixth house. So this is about maybe some changes with your work, maybe some changes with your routine this week. And again, some of these goals or whatever it is that maybe you've been focused on. Okay. Now, on another note, we do have Venus going into your first house. This will be particularly applicable for you Scorpios, in the sense that you could be feeling a bit, feeling good, looking good, that kind of thing. Maybe relationships are being emphasized at the moment, but you can be enjoying perhaps a bit of these goals and a bit of this forward-moving energy. And generally, this has been, for both of you, a more serious time, I think, about assuming some responsibilities lately, maybe this past year. Scorpios more than Ophiuchus is, but in either case, this sort of responsibility being invoked And I think as Venus gets closer to that Saturn, seeing where you can approach things with the responsible approach, the patient approach, really, Saturn in the first house really emphasizes the importance of patience in our life and taking things nice and slow, nice and grounded, but there's a lot of maturity that's being developed and patience that's being developed as well. All right, and then Mercury is going to be opposing up to Uranus. So after this transformation here on Wednesday with Mars over Pluto, on Thursday, we do have Mercury opposing up to Uranus. So this is the fact that there's been a lot of energy lately this month, and the later part of last month too, in regards to your aspirations. All right, you got your Sun in the 11th, you got Mercury here. You could be thinking about future things, very future-minded right now at the moment. There should be opportunities, in fact, to cultivate your aspirations with Jupiter in the 11th. And even too, maybe networking, connecting with friends or groups, that kind of stuff can also be very good at the moment. And you could see opportunities coming through the network circles and that kind of stuff. But anyways, this week, Mercury opposing up to Uranus is suggesting the importance of balance. For the past 7 or 8 years, maybe there's been this wanting to break free with your self-expression, which has been Uranus in the 5th house. Break free with anything that you're passionate about, you create in life. And so it's a great week to listen to that and make some changes maybe with your self-expression to free yourself up so you can express who you truly are, which is fundamentally what Uranus in the 5th is all about. But within balance, within moderation. And this is because, of course, the 11th opposes the 5th. So with all these future things, with these aspirations of yours or these group things for some of you who are involved on that level, it's a balance of both. That, of course, these aspirations do require you to be who you truly are, to express yourself, to enjoy what you're doing, and vice versa. Your self-expression does require a bit of forward thinking and giving nature to be a part of something larger than yourself. So with that perspective of seeing things that, yes, you can express yourself and continue to cultivate your aspirations, and at the same time, continue to cultivate your aspirations with a bit more joy or self-expression or playfulness, that kind of moderation, I think, is very good to work with. Okay. But by far the most important thing is, for both of you, your traditional ruler Mars going over Pluto, which is your modern ruler, in fact. So a lot of this transformation occurring, it's all in the area or the house that has to do with your values. Okay, so the resources, inner and outer, making change with that, but also with yourself on the most fundamental level, it being your ruler, and maybe even too with your work. Your identity is changing, your perspective of life is changing more than likely. You're changing quite literally. So it's a great week for that. All right, so Scorpio Ophiuchus, have a fantastic week. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week.